Right everyone, today we're going to be looking at counters for Padme teams. I'm going to be showing you all 12 amazing teams that you can use to counter those super annoying Padme walls in TW and be the MVP for your guilds. Now if you're like me, you likely absolutely love fighting Padme teams. It might just be a me thing though, but Padme fights frustrate me so much I'd much rather be fighting against GLs instead. The team overall is just super annoying and at times very unpredictable. Thankfully though, the teams I'm going to show you today will absolutely destroy most Padme teams. So similar to other videos in this series, I'm going to be placing teams into two categories, the first of which will be optimal counters. These are teams I highly recommend using against Padme as long as you have equal gear unless stated otherwise. The second category is the overpowered category. While these teams work, they're much better used elsewhere as they're likely at least a tier above them, so are more than likely better saved for stronger squads. We won't be including over the top teams though, such as GLs, bar one exception, as this would be a complete waste in most circumstances. Teams in this category are worth using if you're very stuck or going up against a very high relic team. However, due to how tough Padme squads are, there'll only be two teams in this category as Padme is top tier when not including GLs. But before we get started, I'd like to remind you all to like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring that notification bell, join my Discord server, and most importantly, share the video with your friends and guilds so that together we can help as many people as possible to stop struggling against Padme squads. So without any further delay, let's get started and take a look at these amazing teams. So I'm going to start with my favourite counter, which is Jedi Knight Luke lead Jedi, and when I made this team I was extremely happy. I mean, look at the lineup. I know we have Jedi Knight Luke lead, but we're using Mace Windu, Qui-Gon Jinn, Ayla Secura and Old Ben. All of those bar Old Ben and Luke are literally not used with any other team, and more shockingly, Mace and Qui-Gon are actually important for winning this. You see, their dispels are crucial for keeping GK from taunting, as well as removing buffs from other more dangerous team members, such as Jedi Knight Anakin and Padme, so they don't get as much courage. Make sure you kill off Jedi Knight Anakin first and avoid assists where possible outside of Heroes Arise. The speed lock from Jedi Knight Luke's lead is going to prevent the enemy team taking too many turns, so make sure to use Heroes Arise on turn 1 and then stun the entire team with Jedi Knight Luke. After this, use Luke's basic Never Is Assist to take out Jedi Knight Anakin and then Padme after he's dead, and after that it's a super easy win. Luke's basic deals a lot of damage and removes buffs, so you can remove some of the protection up buffs before damage is even applied. Once Jedi Knight Anakin and Padme are dead, you can relax and quickly take out the rest of the team with AoEs and assist abilities. Honestly, this team is pretty versatile and you could probably switch out a lot of the team for other Jedi that are not often used, such as Ezra, Kanan or even Plo Koon. But this is especially nice for everyone who's geared up a lot of Galactic Republic Jedi for Jedi Master Kenobi, as they now have an actual use instead of gathering dust in your roster. Up next is our Traya squad. Now my entire team here was gear 12 bar Thrawn, and we're going up against a full relic Padme squad. This team is a very hard counter to Padme squads as long as you play it right. Thrawn will need to go first and pass turn meter to Traya so you can immediately isolate Padme to prevent her constantly healing the team. After that, you next need to fracture GK and then start working on taking out Jedi Knight Anakin. The turn order for this is crucial, so you need to make sure that Thrawn and Traya both go very quickly in the battle, as if you fail to isolate Padme and fracture GK, you're more likely to lose. During the battle, there's going to be times when fracture falls off GK. When this happens, it's generally best to target GK until Fracture comes back up to prevent him from taunting, as you're going to want Nihilus free to target Jedi Knight Anakin with the first Annihilate. Once he's dead, the danger reduces significantly. If your team is massively undergeared like mine, it's likely Annihilate is going to be the only way to kill members of the opposing team, so it's just a case of speeding Nihilus up as much as possible with Thrawn's turn meter swap and reapplying Isolate to Padme targeting Nihilus. Sion offers a lot of help to this team too with his AoE Dispel, which keeps the courage off the opposing team. Traya's lead is also going to seriously harm the opposing team too, as they lose a lot of health when attacking out of turn. This usually makes Ahsoka put herself in the red, so an AoE will quickly finish her off at this point. In addition, Nihilus increasing cooldowns throughout the battle helps massively. Once Padme has finally been taken out, it's just a case of quickly taking out GK, who at this point can't really do anything to ruin the run. So this is another very interesting team to counter Padme. Jedi training Rey without BB-8 works very well here. Be sure to open up with Stealth on R2 and then place a stack of Confuse on GK from 3PO to prevent him from taunting right away. After that, you're going to want to use non-assisting specials from Resistance heroes Finn and Poe on Jedi Knight Anakin, which after being followed up with a basic from Rey should kill him off. After that, you're going to struggle a little at this point to keep the taunt off GK until Poe's third ability comes back off cooldown, which applies buff immunity. Make sure GK has no locked bonus protection when using it or it won't land. Once this finally happens, you're free to focus down Padme and take her out as quickly as possible. I do like to use Finn's AoE here as it will usually outdamage the bonus protection she gains, but this is something for you to decide for yourselves if I'm being honest. In addition, I like to use Mind Trick on Padme as much as possible to try and prevent her from healing the squad. R2's stuns can also be very helpful for this too when GK is causing issues. As a general rule, you don't really want to be using mass assists against Padme squads, as they just grant the squad more bonus protection. Once Padme is dead though, you can feel free to unleash everything you have and quickly mop up the rest of the team. You can also opt to use Imperial Probe Droid instead of 3PO, but it does make it less likely to succeed. Overall, this is another solid counter to these extremely annoying squads. This next team is your standard Jedi Knight Revan squad, which is another amazing counter you can use to take out Padme squads. Now with this team, you are going to want to be using some assists throughout the battle, as it's actually worth the protection up it causes. Firstly, you're going to want to mark Jedi Knight Anakin and then focus him down mostly using non-assisting attacks from your team. You will want to use Bastila buffs and Hermit Yoda's Master's Training on Grandmaster Yoda to boost his damage, even though both are assists. You only need to use Master's Training once and only on Grandmaster Yoda so he gets the additional offense. After that, the only assist you're going to want to be using is Bastila's buffs repeatedly to boost the power of Grandmaster Yoda's attacks. Be sure to use Jedi Knight Revan's turn meter swap with Grandmaster Yoda as much as possible so he's taking more turns, as he's going to be the team's only real source of damage. Once Jedi Knight Anakin is dead, you're next going to want to mark Padme and then use the same tactics that we used against Jedi Knight Anakin. It's not a complicated fight by any means, and it's generally a very easy win. Once Padme is finally dead, you're free to once again release everything you have on the remaining team members, who should pretty much drop like flies at that point. So just a quick disclaimer about this next squad. If 3PO is not present in the enemy team, you can pretty much just steamroll it with Palpatine and Vader. When he is though, the fight has to be played much more carefully, and given that 3PO is pretty standard now for any competent Padme team, we're going to be showing how to fight them. So first we're going to use MM on Vader. Do not open with Force Crush, as the debuffs won't land and Vader won't get another turn. Once MM has been used, use Force Crush targeting 3PO. You're then going to want to Culling Blade Jedi Knight Anakin, and then use basics on everyone else, removing all of the bonus protection they have gained. After the last stack of MM is gone, Force Crush again and then Culling Blade Kenobi. Thrawn then needs to pass turn meter to Palpatine so he can use his AoE stun. With the extra potency from Piet's the Emperor's Trap, this should hopefully stun Padme and Anakin. After that, fracture GK and then quickly take out Jedi Knight Anakin followed by Padme with everything you have. This can be a little tricky to pull off if you're learning, and will take some practice to do perfectly, as a lot can go wrong, and generally if you make one mistake, it's highly possible you will lose the battle. A high relic Vader is strongly advised. Now ironically, I really enjoy mirror matches with this team, as it's very easy to outplay the AI. I really like Barriss as a 5th here, as a Zeta helps massively to reduce the non-courage based damage from the opposing team. Be sure to use all the abilities that you have that grant buffs early on so you can prepare your courage stacks as quickly as possible, and avoid using your own mass assists to prevent the opposing team gaining much courage. You will likely take a lot of attacks early on, but this isn't anything to be concerned about, as they won't be able to do much damage to you at this point. You don't really need to worry about anything else. The AI is going to bombard you with assists and mass attacks, which is going to help you stack the bonus protection faster. All you need to do is kill Jedi Knight Anakin once the courage is up, and after that it's really easy and straightforward to mop up the rest of the team. So this next team honestly wouldn't be my first choice, but that's mostly because most of my squad is Gear 12 and we're going up against high relic Padme teams. Most people have relic 8 Kenobis now too. With this team, it's mostly a case of waiting for your droids to die off to trigger Grievous's bonus turns, where he can put out insane amounts of damage. You're very unlikely to be able to get around GK or kill anyone very often outside of this. Be sure to do your best to land target lock as much as you can. While this will get cleansed very often, it helps building your turn meter so you can get as many turns with Grievous as possible early on. With B2, spam his AoE as often as you can, targeting Ahsoka or 3PO, as B1 will assist, causing bonus protection, and you generally want Padme, Jedi Knight Anakin and GK to have buff immunity as much as possible. Use Grievous's AoE whenever it's up, as this will be your main source of damage. Outside of this, target Jedi Knight Anakin whenever possible with Grievous's attacks. The bad thing about this squad is you'll lose a lot of your team during the fight, so it's really not ideal in cases where you're aiming for high banners. With equal geared teams though, it is very consistent in terms of actually winning the battle, so that's good at least, but keep in mind it will likely just be Grievous and B1 left standing at the end. So this team's another hard counter to Padme when played properly. Again though, it's very easy for things to go wrong if you don't know what you're doing. The main thing you're going to need to do is quickly get Jedi Knight Anakin below 50% health to land Deathmark on Padme. This is best done quickly to avoid complications. Now GK will taunt after the first hit, so make sure to use Malek's middle ability to dispel the taunt and hopefully land Shock, which will remove him from causing issues for a short time. With GK neutralised, we can now get back to the goal of getting Deathmark to land on Padme. Be sure to save Darth Revan's third ability for after Deathmark has landed on Padme, as this will neutralise Jedi Knight Anakin from taking a bonus turn. Be sure to try and time procking Jedi Knight Anakin below 50% health soon after Padme has taken a turn, so it'll stay on her for longer. Now sometimes you'll get the chance to kill Jedi Knight Anakin in one hit, and I advise taking this chance if it comes up, as it'll often yield a safer battle even though it will slow it down a bit if Padme procs her heal. Most of the time though, your main goal is to prevent Padme from using her heal in the first place. It's also worth not using Bastila's debuffs until Padme is safely taken out or ready to be, as the more opponents that have debuffs, the more likely Padme is to use her heal. Next up is our CLS Rebel squad. Now this team is very unique in how it works, as it's generally going to be quite a long battle given the amount of attack set of turn that are unavoidable. This works in our favour though, as whenever debuffs are resisted, and when Luke applies debuffs, our entire Rebel team gains turn meter. This makes it so the enemy team will for the most part be unable to take many turns at all. We will be stuck behind GK for most of the battle though, and it will take a while to win. Be sure to stun Padme on Raid Han's opening turn to prevent her healing the team if she manages to take a turn early on. You're then going to want to burn through Jedi Knight Anakin's protection whenever you get the chance. The best way to do this is to dispel with Free Pack, and then target Jedi Knight Anakin with a high damaging attack such as Raid Han's middle ability. After that, you need to use both Chewie's AoE abilities to slowly damage the rest of the enemy team, as you're stuck targeting GK the majority of the time. Once Padme or Anakin get low enough health, you can try and use a high damaging attack to finally take them out. I went for Padme first on this battle, given she seemed to be the weakest at the time when the chance came available. Once they are both taken out, as per usual, you can just wipe out the rest of the team. Be sure to watch out for Jedi Knight Anakin's bonus turns, but while you might lose a team member towards the end, you generally don't need to worry too much. While these battles are often very long, the success rate for me at least is extremely high. So this next team is very similar to GG in the fact that you're highly likely to lose multiple team members during the battle. That being said, it is a very reliable counter to Padme squads, but should probably be avoided if you're looking for the most banners. Be sure not to taunt with 5s, as you're going to want the enemy team to proc 5's saviour as quickly as possible. I made a small mistake during this battle by using Echo's grenade too early on. You're going to want to save this until the opposing team has a lot of buffs, or for even better results right after 5's sacrifice is procced, as this will make it deal insane amounts of damage to the opposing team, and will sometimes kill a lot of them if they have little to no bonus protection. Usually though, you're going to be waiting for Rex's AA to come off cooldown, and when this happens, I like to get rid of Padme over Jedi Knight Anakin to remove the chance of her healing the enemy team. After that, it's just a case of quickly killing Jedi Knight Anakin, and then it's an easy win from there on. Be sure to keep Rex healed up with Shaak Ti, as he's going to be key to taking out the team later on in the battle. And now we're moving on to the first of our overpowered counters with Gas 501st. Now Gas as a character I feel is pretty wasted being used on Padme squads, given he's often used with many GL counters, but if you're struggling and you really need to get past a Padme team, you can use him here. Honestly though, I feel Shaak Ti would be more than good enough. So this team works pretty similar to the Shaak Ti variant, but you have the insane strength of Gas leading the charge, protecting the team from damage and dishing out crazy amounts of damage throughout the battle. GK will be protecting the team a lot early on, and they will eventually topple Gas once or twice. But once again, Echo's grenade towards the middle of the battle will absolutely demolish the opposing team once 5's sacrifice goes off, and if that fails, you have Gas to clean up, as he'll be getting stronger the longer the battle goes on, due to the amount of buffs the opposing team will constantly be gaining. And finally we have our SEE Solo. Now I know using a GL here is an insane waste, but I decided to include him here for two reasons. The first is that this is the absolute best thing you can do for banners in Grand Arena, a complete solo of an entire team that would for most squads cost a few deaths from your team members to win, or otherwise be risky if they have more relics than you. The second is you can't really do much with SEE on defense, so if your opponent doesn't have a GL or you have other counters, this is a really good way to save an extra team for either defense or offense if you often run out of teams to use. All you need to do is link Jedi Knight Anakin and Ahsoka, which prevents them from critting, and then tank the damage until you can use your ultimate ability. After that, it's just a case of insta-killing the both of them, and then linking two other opponents if they're still alive, or you can even just basic them to death. SEE, as far as I'm aware, cannot lose this match. I've never had any issues whatsoever, and it's probably autoable if I'm being honest. And there we have it everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the video and learned some new teams to use against Padmes in your Grand Arenas or against a wall of them in TW. I'd like to say a massive thank you to my Arena Shard, who took a lot of time and effort to place these teams for me to record footage against, as this would not have been possible otherwise. Hopefully this video helps everyone who struggles a lot against Padmes. I personally hate fighting these teams, as I mentioned at the start of the video, so I assume there's many others who feel the same way. Hopefully this video can change that for a lot of you, and give you all the tools you need to blast through them. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you all very soon.